staring into the same camera for 4 out of the 5 years that I've been running this channel since I returned. I think it's about time that we shook things up a little, don't you think? Much better. Hello there, I'm Kaz, and it's the channel's 5th year anniversary.
Years. It's been 5 years since I posted my review of Monster Tale and returned a review for Forgotten Games on the DS and Gateway's massive libraries, and the ever-growing list of new niche titles on the Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation Vita. 5 years. While there's still much to be improved about my presentation, it's hard to deny that much has changed about it over the years, ranging from making more lengthy and in-depth breakdowns to covering more well-known series like Fire Emblem, not to mention games on newer home consoles. Also, videos of Canadian politics. I didn't think I'd be doing that when I was in high school when I started this. Then again, when I was in high school, calling Fire Emblem well-known would have been ridiculous. I mean, what's next? Kevin O'Leary becoming a politician? Oh my god, we are so screwed. Now, some of you might remember that last year, I promised to take a look at The World Ends With You, in celebration of this very occasion. While that was the original plan, as I began writing the review for that game, it got a whole lot more personal than I expected it to be, to the point where I'm not entirely comfortable talking about it as I wanted to at the time.
Come to think of it, I do have a bit of a habit of promising to do reviews and then not getting around to them, like Chrono Cross or the Golden Sun Trilogy. Yeah, sorry about that. I do plan on getting to those eventually, but yeah, it's been a while since I promised those.
I do intend to tackle it sometime down the line, but emotionally, I'm not quite ready for that just yet.
So if The World Ends With You is a no-go, what are we going to be taking a look at instead? Well, I thought it'd be a good idea to go back before Monster Tale, to the series that started this channel in the first place, Shantae.
Like this very channel, the Shantae series comes from humble origins. Well, okay, that's not exactly true for me, just wait until the Q&A later this month, but it certainly is for the Shantae series. With the development cycle that saw its focus change from the Super Nintendo to the PC to the Game Boy Color, from the titular character summoning animals to becoming them, the original Shantae had a long and arduous path from 1994, leading up to its release back in 2002. While it would be roughly 1 decade, 2 canceled sequels and 3 iterations of the DS before the series would return, it has seen a steady amount of sequels and accompanying popularity in the more recent years. For example, in 2013, WayForward launched a Kickstarter for the latest entry in the Shantae series and its console debut, Shantae Half-Genie Hero, a campaign that ended with over $800,000 raised when factoring in PayPal donations, over double the original goal.
Now for the sake of disclosure, I did indeed back Half-Genie Hero's Kickstarter out to the contributor level, meaning you'll be seeing the channel's name somewhere in the credits.
Speaking of the Kickstarter, there was a surprising bit of controversy that surrounded the earlier days of WayForward's campaign. See, during the early portion of the Kickstarter, the promotion material depicted a Shantae who was, shall we say, lighter in tone than normal, with some accusing WayForward of whitewashing the character. Given that Shantae is one of the few prominent women of color in video games, let alone one of the few women characters to star in a video game series, consistently, it would have been a shame if that did end up being the case. As it turns out, Shantae looking more pale than a blank paper used to animate the ghost of Kim with a white lantern from a hospital was the result of the team experimenting with the lighting, and wouldn't turn out to be the new look for Shantae going forward. It really goes to show how many people have grown to care about a series that started off when the Game Boy was essentially deceased. To see so many people that were bothered by this change and speak up about it. And you know, caring a representation in media because it matters. So, is Shantae Half-Genie Hero a full-fledged success, or is it a fraction as fun as its predecessor? Let's get ready to go and dive right in. After getting her Half-Genie powers back at the end of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, Shantae decides to spend time helping her Uncle Mimic build the new machine to keep Scuttletown safe. Mostly because she's got nothing else to do after getting fired yet again as the Guardian Genie of said town. Throughout the game's 5 chapters, she'll uncover all the materials needed to complete the machine, along with the usual set of hearts, items, magic and transformations, in typical Shantae fashion. I say typical because Half-Genie Hero brings the series back to its more creative route after Pirate's Curse largely abandoned the usual elephant-stomping, Meteoric clattering and receive revenge in the original, most of which turned out for the better as it delivered the series' highest highs from the dungeons you'd explore to the bosses that occupied them. Given all the change it made to the series' formula, all the additions and advancements for the map to movement, and how Half-Genie Hero omits more than a handful of them, it can't help but be compared to Pirate's Curse. However unfavorable a comparison it may be because Half-Genie Hero simply does not measure up to its predecessor. Dropping dancing in favor of sequence breaking power-ups, Pirate's Curse made for a paradigm shift with a massive payoff. Progression in particular was magnificent thanks to how all these abilities built off one another. You could go from running across the screen with a scimitar to blasting across the chasm via cannonballs before gliding to the ground and continuing to slash your way through the next row of foes. Going from one buttery smooth movement to the next made for a rather subtle bit of swashbuckling action between some superbly crafted levels. The tedious method of changing from one form to the next in Half-Genie Hero doesn't share that same level of synergy, which results in exploration being less exciting of an adventure. In an unusual turn, Half-Genie Hero's attempt to return to the series' unique roots makes for a less original entry in the series.
If it seems like I'm more down on Shantae Half-Genie Hero than I normally am when it comes to WayForward's games, that's mostly in comparison to Pirate's Curse. Shantae Half-Genie Hero is a fine game in its own right, easily the second best entry that the series has to offer. However, there's a wide gap between gold and silver in this contest, and it's not just because they ignored the path left by its predecessor.
What widens that gap is that the game suffers from demon crustitis, i.e. making items too well hidden and easy to miss whether to walk through the other side, especially given how much worse the map is than in Pirate's Curse, which is to say that there isn't one. Helpful as it may be that the overworld informs the player of how many items remain uncollected per level, this convenience is lost when you have to scan through every inch of them to make sure you haven't missed that final harder key item. The latter which are even more important for those aiming to earn the best ending possible. This was likely deliberate given that the various levels are broken down into separate levels rather than different regions of a connected world, but it yet again represents a step backwards for the series. While this is technically better, since it cuts down on the amount of time that the player spends backtracking from one area to the next, the end result is inorganic exploration. Going back to Pirate's Curse, I swear this is the last time I'll make a comparison to it. There was a balance between convenience and organic design. With risky ship cutting down on travel time, yet still allowing for the various parts of the land to feel interconnected. Like you're uncovering new secrets of this grand land whenever you return to one of these old areas, rather than a series of largely disconnected levels that you're just looking for the final item in, with Scuttletown serving as more of a minuscule hub than the bustling city it was in previous entries. There's also a few bugs that crop up from time to time. One of the more unusual ones I came across involved transforming into the mouse that led Shantae into falling through the floor and the camera zooming in on her. Only upon exiting the level did this visual oddity disappear. None of them were ever game-breaking, nor are these flaws deal-breakers, but they prevent Half-Genie Hero from being the best possible iteration of this particular incarnation of Shantae. Still, what's here does make for a genuinely enjoyable experience, whose greatest flaw is not living up to the lofty expectations left by its masterful predecessor. The new transformations are creative, if not particularly useful outside of traversing the environment, additions that lend themselves well towards a quadruple of levels, all brimming with variety. The series has never provided as inventive scenarios as it does in Half-Genie Hero. The shoot 'em section near the end of the game is a particularly welcome change of pace that keeps things fresh up to the final encounter. Shantae Half-Genie Hero may not measure up to its predecessor in terms of gameplay or design, but it manages to be a delight in its own right, and more than matches Pirate's Curse in terms of boasting lovingly lavish details. Much as the superb sprite work of the past is missed, Half-Genie Hero's hand-drawn artwork still manages to let the character's personality shine through in every silky smooth frame. It is a gorgeous game that displays how strong the studio's art direction has gone in recent years, mainly with how well they managed to blend in the 2D characters with the 3D elements in a given level. Previous pushing of polygons in WayForward's games tended to suffer from the 3D elements looking out of place, not helped by them being generally less refined than its dual-dimension counterparts. In Half-Genie Hero, that jarring difference in quality is non-existent, it all merges together seamlessly. I should note that the version I'm playing is the Vita version,
Because it doesn't matter, it's the series' console debut. This is how us civilized individuals play Shantae.
which, while it does feature a lower resolution than its console counterpart, still looks and performs with nearly a drop in performance. Mermaid Falls is marred by a moment of slowdown that is otherwise absent from one suave-moving, slick-looking 60 frames of game. The soundtrack, on the other hand, is not quite as praiseworthy, though not for the lack of quality. In terms of compositions, the new tunes are terrific. Upbeat and immensely catchy, they're a testament to Kaufman's near-flawless discography. Lyrically, the title track is lacking, and the voice acting, despite an overall improvement from Pirate's Curse, nevertheless remains awkwardly crowbarred into a game that pays its due more to the golden age rather than the modern era of gaming. While hearing Shantae say "transform" out loud is cute the first time around, its charm rather quickly wears off. Voice acting aside, Shantae Half-Genie Hero delivers another knockout presentation that one has come to expect whenever WayForward Technologies enters the ring.
Half-Genie Hero is another solid entry in the Shantae series. Something you'd like to know about, given that it's been a few months since the game came out. Whoops. No. That's all for now, folks. Thank you all for joining me in celebrating this massive milestone.
As for what's in store this year, we'll be catching up on those reviews I promised to do, like the Golden Sun trilogy. Hopefully, we'll see if the Nintendo Switch and Smach-z remake for worthwhile consoles on the go. We'll see how Intelligent System handles the remake of the Black Sheep of the Fire Emblem series, and in a few weeks, we'll begin the Persona series Western Retrospective.
But until next time, as always, game on, my friends.